work to uphold civil rights. Is the Sixth Amendment one of those in the Bill of Rights?
The Sixth Amendment is one.
It is, great.
Certainly a civil right.
And you work to uphold civil rights for all Americans, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. When the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution says the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury, what kind of a time frame does a speedy trial mean?
Well, there's two different ones. So there's the Speedy Trial Act.
That's correct.
I used to be able to tell you exactly how long it took, but I believe at least the first part I remember is 30 days from the complaint.
That's correct.
I think it's 120 days after that, and then there are exceptions for different motions for speedy trial.
Okay, I believe it says 70 days from the filing of charges of the defendant's appearance
It's been a
before the
long time
judicial
since
officer.
I actually appeared in magistrate's court to make that argument.
Okay, great. I'm glad you are well aware of that. Mark Houck was arrested September 23rd, 2022, and found not guilty on January 30th, 2023. The jury deliberated about an hour. DOJ accused Houck of twice assaulting the volunteer in front of a Planned Parenthood clinic and charged him with 2 counts of violating the FACE Act, freedom of access to clinic entrances. The arrest to the trial took just over 4 months. Would you consider that a speedy trial?
Yes.
All right, so would I. Last week, I visited the D.C. Department of Corrections and met with some of the 20 prisoners who were arrested in connection to the events at the Capitol on January the 6th. According to a Just Security article that came out on March the 20th, 11 of the 20 have not accepted a plea deal, nor have they even been brought to trial. Today is March the 29th, 2023. Attorney General Garland, is it correct that since their arrest, some of these individuals have been waiting approximately 2 years for their trial?
Look, I don't know the specifics of individual cases. The beauty of the Sixth Amendment is that each of those people is entitled to a lawyer, has a lawyer who can make a speedy trial argument in the court. Oftentimes, lawyers ask for more time. Oftentimes, they ask for exceptions for discovery. There was an enormous amount of discovery in those cases, but I don't know anything about particular cases.
Does waiting 2 years for a trial meet the speedy trial clause of the Sixth Amendment?
It can if the exceptions to the Speedy Trial Act are met. Those are the responsibility of the lawyers for those defendants to bring to the
Well, I would like you to look into that, because to me, I don't think waiting 2 years for your trial complies with the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution.
This is an argument to be made before the judge. The judge has the authority to dismiss a case for a violation of the Speedy Trial
You're
Act.
absolutely correct. A judge does have that authority. You know, like you said in your opening statement, you work to uphold the civil rights of all Americans. I think in this case, their civil rights are being violated, and I would appreciate you looking into that. In your opinion, should unauthorized agencies or unauthorized programs in the federal government receive funding through the Appropriations Committee, through this committee?
Sorry, I'm not following the question. If it hasn't been authorized,
Correct. In your opinion, should unauthorized agencies or unauthorized programs in the federal government receive funding through this Appropriations Committee?
At a high level of generality, it seems like a syllogism. If it's unauthorized, it shouldn't have appropriations.
I agree. We have authorizing committees and we have appropriating committees here in Congress. Before a government agency or program can come into existence, it must be authorized. Then we as appropriators add the money to make the program function. So I agree with you that if a program is not authorized, it should not be appropriated. Is the Department of Justice currently authorized for appropriations?
Okay, now you got me here. I'm no expert at the difference between authorizations and appropriations in specific programs.
Well, we have authorizing committees, and the authorizing committee for the Department of Justice would be the Judiciary Committee.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, I will tell you, right here, Public Law 109-162, the last time the Department of Justice was authorized was 2009. 2009, when your budget was $26.2 billion. So you're asking for an appropriation of $40 billion, and the department does not have an authorization. I think that's a problem.
Well, I think you got me in a certain way, but that means that during the entire previous Trump administration and much of the Bush administration, the Justice Department was also unauthorized.
Well, that would be the Obama administration.
Well, if it's since 2009, it would also include the
Well, through 2009, right here.
from 2009 to today, then all the previous administrations were also
That,
unauthorized.
that's correct, and it's incumbent upon the Department of Justice to ask for an authorization.
Yeah, I have to, when I don't know the answer, I think the truthful thing for me to say is I don't know the answer, and I don't know the answer.
Okay, all right, well, I'm finding it difficult to approve an appropriation to an agency that has not requested an authorization. And how can I, in good conscience, appropriate taxpayers' money to an unauthorized agency? So, giving you the benefit of the doubt, and the last time that you were authorized, which was 2009, I would think that 26.2 billion is probably the
Time of the
most we can
gentleman has
offer.
expired.
Thank you, Attorney General. On September the 30th, 2023, there was a FOIA request made regarding the ongoing attacks against pro-life organizations. And under federal law, as I understand, federal agencies have 20 working days to respond to FOIA requests. Is that not correct?
Yes, that's the law.
Okay, great. To date, the Department of Justice has not complied with the request, and I have the request in front of me. It was sent to you and to the FBI. It says FOIA communications pertaining to the ongoing attacks against pro-life organizations. And Mr. Chairman, I request unanimous consent to enter this into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. It's been nearly 6 months. Why has the Department of Justice not complied with federal law on this request? I mean, this is a request sent by multiple entities, by Advancing American Freedom, Concerned Women for America, Heritage Action, Family Research Council, all joined together on this FOIA request, and it has gone unanswered. Why?
So, again, I obviously don't know that particular request. We get thousands and thousands of FOIA requests, and some take longer to answer than others. This one sounds in part to be asking about ongoing investigations, and of course, that requires redaction of information to protect the investigation so that the investigations succeed. But I don't know the specifics, and I'll be happy to have my staff get in touch with you.
I would appreciate an answer to this FOIA request. Okay. On that note, there's another FOIA request that was sent by a concerned citizen in Washington, D.C. And that concerned citizen requested access to records concerning data related to the prosecution of homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, motor vehicle theft, and arson that occurred in Washington, D.C. in the last 5 years. The response to that request was denied. And it says, the United States Attorney informed you that it does not maintain records such as those that you described. The United States Attorney in Washington, D.C. does not maintain records on the prosecution of violent crime in Washington, D.C.? That stuns me.
Again, I don't know the specifics here. Be happy to have staff get back to you. Obviously, some of the statistics only the Metropolitan Police Department has.
I don't mean arrest, I mean prosecution.
I don't know the answer to that question, and I'll be happy to
Okay,
get
can I get your commitment that we can have those records of prosecution of violent crime in D.C.?
Yeah, you have my commitment that my staff will get in touch with yours and with the U.S. Attorney's Office to find out what the holdup here is.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. One last question for you regarding firearm tracing. In your belief, is every firearm trace that is conducted by ATF linked to an actual crime?
Well, when you say every, it's always a potential problem. The normal way in which tracing happens is that a police department submits a request based on a gun found at a crime scene. I don't know whether there's something outside of that, but that's typically what happens. State and local police or federal law enforcement gets a gun at a crime scene and then tries to trace back where it was purchased from.
Okay. Last year, Representative Clyde from Texas sent a letter regarding firearm traces, and part of the response to that letter said, the NTC only traces crime guns, and every trace must be identified as such by the requester selecting the appropriate crime code. And we requested in a follow-up letter, please provide a list of all the crime codes an agency must choose from when a trace is requested. So far, we've gotten no response to that letter. It's been a year. Will you commit that you will respond to that letter
Again,
with the crime codes?
I will certainly commit that my staff will get the letter from you, and will then contact ATF and find out what the holdup is.
Okay, great, because I can personally attest as a federal firearms licensee myself, being the recipient of trace requests, there are multiple traces that have nothing to do with crime whatsoever. Whether it's a gun that was lost, whether it was a gun that was sent back to the manufacturer for repair and we get a trace on it, whether it's a gun that's voluntarily turned into a law enforcement agency for a temporary hold that we get a trace on, or whether a gun was owned by an employee that currently has it and we got a trace on that gun, which I don't understand. So I really don't understand how the tracing process works, and I really want to understand
I
that.
think you're entitled to an explanation, and I'm going to ask the people from ATF to get together with your staff and
Great.
provide you with an explanation.
Thank you very much, and I yield back.